Listen, it was a lot of fun to be on the campaign, even though it was only 11 days. You could also say it was 954,000 seconds. Sometimes I say that to my therapist to make me feel better. But it was a lot of fun. And what I try to point out about the president is that there was a 35-year vacuum of advocacy for blue-collar people, middle-class families, and working-class families that he exploited on his way to the presidency. Now, again, we can debate whether his policies are working for those families or not, but what was clear, and probably similar here as a result of the Brexit, is that a lot of people have felt left out of the global economy and the forces of globalism over the last 20 or 25 years.
And just tell us about you, because when you say blue-collar, these days it's becoming a little bit less meaningful to people like in our audience. We've got lots of students. That's factory workers, that's manual work.
So yeah, my dad was a heavy crane operator, and he was a payloader operator for 42 years at a small construction company on Long Island. So he was a member of a union, and he was paid by the hour. But that was at a time when those wages were high enough, Jeremy, where we could grow up in the middle class. And so he didn't go to college. He was in the Army for a few years. And when he came out of the Army, he went right to work without going to college. And so that to me is blue collar, at least representative in the United States.
And I know, and our view of the States is this thing we've been all in a way been sold is the American dream, as they call it, which is that you, as the son of somebody who sits in a crane all day, can go to Harvard and end up in the White House. Do you think that's still true, though?
It's less true today, primarily because the United States, unfortunately, we have an uneven public education system. And so depending on where people are living, they can get a very good public school education, or unfortunately in some of the inner cities, they can't get quite the educational experience that they need to do what I was able to do. And so I think there's a generational difference. When I write in the book, Jeremy, is that I grew up in an aspirational working class family, but those very same families that have a dad like my dad are now economically desperational. And I describe in the book what happened in the United States. 65,000 factories mobilized out of the United States after the signing of NAFTA, and that had a devastating effect on lower middle income families.
That's your basically American continental trade deal. So
yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, and of course, you've got 5 kids, I think, is that right? Oldest is 26 and the youngest is?
1.
1?
Yeah, but it's modern family.
Well, here's
modern
the thing.
Family.
As a very successful man, which you undoubtedly are, your kids will have phenomenal advantages because successful people are brilliant at making sure they transfer their own advantages to their kids. We probably all try and do it. Now, how do you feel about that? So,
I mean, they do have advantages, and they, believe it or not, have some disadvantages, because sometimes when your family's in the spotlight, it can have a consequential or psychological effect on your kids. And so the mashing of politics in the United States, which becomes an international spectacle, can sometimes have a not such a great impact on your kids. But I think you're making a more broad point that through wealth and connections, you're able to help your family members. And so what I tell people about that is, and particularly my children, don't have any guilt about that. Because at the end of the day, we're all living our own lives, and we know the human condition is filled with tragedy. No matter how wealthy you are, you're going to experience things in your life that you wish you didn't experience.
Interesting. I just want to show everyone this picture, which is a very famous photo from Anthony's days in the White House, which is him with a guy called Reince Priebus, oddly named fella. So this, when this was taken, it was
about to knock him into Pennsylvania Avenue in that
Well, it wasn't posed, but there was so much online. Storm, you'll love this picture. Look at this. Give me your analysis there. Look at Anthony's.
Anthony does not look happy, does he?
The thumbs in the belt,
What they're missing is a couple of cowboy hats, some Stetsons, and a horse.
That's what everyone said.
What I don't want to do is go too aggressively against Reince, because he's not here to defend himself. But we obviously
probably also not watching as well.
But we obviously we didn't like each other, needless to say, and so. But I mean,
you want to get him sacked, and
he represented to me all of that dishonesty of the Washington political operatives. Where they're going to say one thing to your face and do something very, very different behind your back. And I'm a New Yorker. What I said about Washington at that time is these people are backstabbers, but I see myself more as a front stabber. I'm going to tell you right to your face.
Let's just put this photo on the screen. I just love it. That's politics to me, that photo. As you see the mistrust, don't you, Carol?
Yeah, completely. Yes, completely.
So that's politics the world over, actually.
That's in the Oval Office. That's the Rose Garden behind us there. One of the fun parts about that picture, the Wall Street Journal photographer that took it, called me, asked me if I would sign the picture for him. And of course, I think I'm a reasonably good sport, I signed the picture. Reince wouldn't sign the picture. So it just gives you a difference of personality between the two of us.
Yeah.
One of the only things I did in the White House was, I turned the lights and cameras on for the press. I hired Sarah Huckabee to be permanent press secretary, and then I hired a hair and makeup person for myself. I thought I needed one for television, don't you think, John?
How did you end up losing your job after 11 days?
Well, there was a number of different things. I obviously, I said something inappropriate about Steve Bannon to a reporter. You guys can Google that and figure out what it was. But that really wasn't it. The president had me reporting directly to him. And so once John Kelly got the job, he wasn't going to allow that to happen. And then I was willing to subordinate myself to John, but he didn't want the press saying that there were two chiefs of staff competing for the president's attention.
It's just one of those things. It was a great, as an 11-day run, it was magnificent, though. I think we all watched it.
I had a great time. And I just want to say thank you for saying 11 days. Some people say 10, and it does hurt my feelings.
There we are.
People say 10. I sort of feel like you're jipping me out of 9% of my political career. So thank you for saying that it was a lot. I don't appreciate what Jim Acosta, the CNN journalist, is doing there. He's in the East Room of the White House, and he needs to respect the president. Two wrongs don't make the right. Even if the president's rough on him, he is the president. I would have recommended that he dialed it back. But I'm not
saying that's enough. Because the whole thing on the media is fake news, isn't it? Enemy of the people.
I'm not in love with the fake news, enemy of the people sort of thing. When I got the job, I turned the lights and cameras back on in the press room, and I wanted to de-escalate what was going on with the media, because it's not in the president's best interest. It's okay to have an adversarial relationship with the media, but it is not okay to be at war with the media. And so I'm not in love with that.